Good afternoon. I'm Annu Kurian Alexander, and I'm thrilled to be here to speak on today's expert chat topic, upskilling during a career break. I am a marketer of technology, and why am I speaking on this topic? Because I really am an expert on taking career breaks, and I'm passionate about upskilling. I have three children, and I've always taken breaks from my full-time career to look after my children when they were really small. And typically, it was when they were 2 years old that I went back to work each time. And once I got back to work, I understood that, upskilling is something that is so important when we as women join the workforce. I currently work in IBM, and I'm a marketer for IBM's data and AI products. So that covers the suite that essentially is into machine learning, business analytics, and everything else related to AI. It's a wonderful job that I'm doing, and I'm really happy to be here to share my thoughts on how, when we take a career break, we can be prepared as we come back to join the workforce. Right. So what happens when we take a career break? Typically, the reasons are many as to why we women take career breaks, right? It could be to look after our children. It could be to be a caregiver to somebody who's not well. It could be due to a change in our life situation. It could be due to, so many different reasons. So within our minds, we tell ourselves that, oh, we've really gone off the script that the workforce is expecting from us. We are somebody who have, breaks, and therefore we are not employable anymore. But what that affects is our inner confidence, right? It's something that makes us question ourselves. It makes us question our own abilities. So, at this point, I'd like to ask you, what really is your story? What narrative are you telling yourself? How are you bringing up your confidence? Now, when you're on a break, it may be that you don't have too much time. It may be that your entire energy is focused on the reason why you've taken a break. But if you are planning to get back into the workforce at some point, it may be, immediately, it may be something you've started considering and you want it to happen in 6 months from now, 1 year from now. How can you really get prepared to, be employable? How can you be somebody that companies would want to grab up? How can you be somebody that, comes back with a real bang? So what I'm going to present here and talk about today is not really, an equation that you can follow, a formula as such. It's just basically a basket full of ideas that probably can spark, something that in your mind that, oh, I never really thought of this. Let me explore this possibility. So what I want to just take you through a framework which I call the 3 C's. Actually, it's 1 plus 3 C's, where the first C I already spoke about, which was to really bring up your confidence in the best way possible. So the very fact that you are attending this talk today is evidence to the fact that you are really, doing different things to bring up your confidence. Kudos to you for that. So what's the first C within, my 3C framework? How really can you upskill? So the first C there is, to have conversations. Many times when we step away from a full-time workforce, we, ensure that we are not, really in touch with people who are in the workforce. We feel that when we're on a break, we need to, completely de-link from people who are working in the jobs that we would like to. So what I'd encourage you to do is actually have conversations with your old peers, your old boss, influencers in the space that you're interested in. If we talk about AI and machine learning, folks who are already putting that up on their resumes, on their job profiles, people who are already working in that space. Take some time out, speak to them. Because one thing I've realized, I'm a marketer, and part of my role is to speak to potential buyers of the software that we put out. And one thing I've realized is that people are ever willing to give you 15 minutes of their time to speak about their job, to speak about themselves. So set up some time with an influencer, set up some time with an expert in the field, set up some time with, your old colleague, your old workmate, somebody who's really going along a path that you might want to take when you get back to work. So that really was the first C in the 3C framework, have conversations. So what's the second C? The second C is, the traditional upskilling that we think about, which is taking courses, taking classes, getting certified. Yeah, so that's actually, 3 C's in one over there itself. But essentially, there's so much of material available out there. The internet is such a huge university for us. And I'd encourage you to devour every bit of information that's available there that's going to be relevant for you. You have, the structured courses. So you have all your online learning academies. Go there, spend some time, understand, what is required. So let me just get back to the previous C, that is the conversations. When you're speaking to somebody who is already in the field, part of that conversation could be, what do I need to study? What courses should I take? What really would stand out on my resume? In the workplace, what are some practical learnings that y'all apply that I can pick up even while I'm on a break and I'm not working on, let's say, a live project? So, you can use the inputs from those career conversations into helping you decide which of the courses you want to take. There are a whole lot of, discussions that are happening on different boards out there in different groups. And that really leads me to the third C in my framework. And that's about becoming part of the community. Now, I see that you all are already part of, the Women in AI and ML community here on JobsForHer. So you've already taken the first step in that regard. I'd encourage you to explore more such communities. Find out where there are. If you'd like to be a data scientist, join a data scientist community. There are so many out there. There are a lot of developer communities that also speak about data science, about data engineering. If you are a business analyst, are there visualizations? Are there the business related communities that you could be a part of that could help you as you progress in your business analyst journey? So depending on which path you decide to take. Now, I've actually given all my examples within the AI and ML sphere. So continuing in that respect, what about statistics? Because the models are so important within machine learning. Explore maths. Maybe it's something you left behind in college, and that can be a huge skill that you can add to your resume. So the communities that you get to be part of, definitely will help you from the technical perspective. I also want to bring in this other thought about being part of informal communities. So volunteering is, something that we all do on the side, but we never really think of putting it on a resume. We never really think of talking about it when we are up in front of a prospective employer. But that's something that really works. Even your organizational skills, even the fact that you are compassionate, the fact that you have helped, let's say, improve the greenery around you as part of a community of gardeners. There are so many parts of life where we really parts of communities around us. Highlight those. So that essentially is, my 1+3 model, 1+3C model for upskilling during a break. So let me just recap what I said. So the first is of course, to bring up your confidence, rewrite your own story and talk about your own life, your own narrative in the most interesting manner, because really there is only one you out there and you need to tell your story in the best way possible. And then what were the other 3 C's that I was suggesting? The first was conversations. The second was about certifications, and the third was about community. So with this 1+3C model, I really encourage you to think about what you'd like to do as part of your upskilling, as part of your path to getting back to work life after a break. Because really what an employer looks at is, do you have the skills? Do you have the experience? Do you have the potential? And all of these are going to help you with, one or more of these aspects. So that's my talk for now. Let me quickly go and see and take questions from you all. Yes, so I see that we have folks who have been on a career break for the last 1 year, and you want to restart in machine learning. Now, one thing that I'd encourage you to do is figure out what in machine learning you would like to do. Yeah, so in machine learning, it is a huge kind of span of roles that you have in machine learning. If you've been a programmer, the typical next role that you can look at, which falls into the machine learning sphere, is as a data scientist, right? But within that, there's also, you can be a programmer who works on data-related projects. For that, what are the specific languages, the platforms you need to get familiar with? Are Python, all the vendors out there with their different platforms, etc. These are all possibilities that you need to look at so that you upskill yourself in that regard. So certifications definitely fall under that. Also, see if you can pick up any projects. Okay, these are, you have a lot of hackathons, you have academic projects that people do within this sphere. See if you can pick up those, because the minute, a recruiter is looking at your resume where you've already done projects, or you've already, been involved in a hackathon where you've worked on a machine learning, business problem, versus somebody who's really coming in from the cold, of course, you're going to have the advantage over there. So coming back to my point about, the different roles within machine learning, we need to look at what do you want to do? Do you want to be a data scientist? Do you want to be a data engineer? Do you want to be somebody who comes in from the statistics side, who really looks at which particular models that you want to use to solve that business outcome? And there are so many new roles that are coming up that when you look at the role, you probably don't realize it fits into machine learning unless they use that keyword. But even if you have, a humanities background, there are folks who are being hired by AI companies to help, the AI models really grasp natural language that we human beings speak. So it's really the applicability of your skill within this whole sphere of machine learning. So what I've done right now is actually expose you to a variety of roles that are available in machine learning. So probably when you're searching for jobs, use more search terms. Don't just use ML or AI as a search term, because that's a huge area. It's such a vastly developing area, and India, in fact, we're in a good place right now, because the demand for data scientists is so big, while the supply is not enough to fulfill that demand. So the faster you upskill yourself within this space, the faster you can be part of this movement that's happening. Right, I see. Which is better? I see another question. Which is better to upskill, online or real-time courses? When the thing is that I would say the difference is online versus face-to-face, because many of the online courses are also real-time, where you can attend classes, etc. So rather than suggesting a particular vendor or a particular university, what I'd suggest is actually, a series of topics. So it depends on where you're coming in from, right? So I mentioned so many different aspects of machine learning and etc. and AI as such. So let's say you're coming in from the programming side. What else do you need to do to upskill yourself in that regard, especially within ML? Do you want to, get more access or more expertise on the languages that are being used, on the platforms that are being used? If so, then search for courses that offer that. Do you want a bit better insight into the mathematics side of it, into the statistics, into the modeling aspect of it? Then search for specific courses that have that. Do you want to look at, what are the different ways that AI is used. So go for a more generic course, because machine learning really is just one part of AI. There are so many other aspects of AI, like your natural language processing and things like that. So is that something that you're interested in? So to answer your question as to which course is high on demand today or expected to be trending in future, I'd say all of these. Which particular university or which particular brand, well, that is completely up to you, because I see that almost all the universities are really offering this. So whether you want to take it up as a full-time course or you want to take it up as shorter courses which fit into your available bandwidth right now, I'd say that I leave that to you. From a recruiter's perspective, from my experience, what I've seen, when I was a hiring manager earlier, is that ultimately the particular course really doesn't is not the biggest factor for me as a manager. Now, there may be others for whom that may be, that may be higher priority. But when I was hiring, folks for my team, I really looked at more of the passion, more of the attitude to learn, and also, that they came in with this idea that yes, I've learned a few things in the structured course, but I'm definitely willing to continue the learning. I hope that answers your question. After a career break, how can you convince a prospective employer that the break has been put to good use and the employee comes back with skills and values? So this is something that I can tell you from my experience. This really, remember the script I told you about in the beginning, that some employers love that perfect narrative. But really, in life, there is nobody with that perfect narrative that fits, into a job role exactly. So then the hiring manager really has to prioritize which is more important. So when you are going after a break, in your mind, is that the biggest thing that defines you? That yes, I'm a professional who's coming back after a break, or are you going to be defined by the life experiences that you've gained during the break and what makes you totally you? So coming back to the narrative you're telling yourself, as well as what you're going to convince your employer, it's not a battle, right? So let's not think about it as being on two opposing sides. The company that you're interviewing for needs you as much as you want that job. So what that interview typically does is to see whether there is a match between what you have to offer and what the company is looking for. So if you start going in for discussions with this mindset, then that's going to help you, because you come with a basket of skills, with a basket of experience that no other candidate is going to offer, right? Somebody else may have continued working in the professional work life while you were away on your break, but they definitely have not got the experience that you have got, being a nurturer, being a caregiver, ensuring that you did self-care, ensuring that you put in the time and effort into upskilling yourself in whichever way that you considered. So tell yourself you're confident, tell yourself that you as a package is something that is really in demand in the market, and you just see how the conversations switch that way. Another question I see: how can upskilling help an employee grow more in a career after their career break? So suppose, this is how I understand this question, that you come back to work, and then how do you look at upskilling once you're back at work? I got back to full-time work about 9 years back, and at that point I was hungry for learning, because in IBM there is a lot of material that's available on our intranet itself. There are classes that I can attend. There are online courses that I could take. So I really, put it out there, even to my managers and to the people around me, that, I need to know more. I need to learn more. So show me the best places. Tell me the topics that I need to look at. So your peers can also help uplift you. So because we have this tendency of looking at our peers as competitors, but really when we uplift each other, that's really such a wonderful environment. So upskilling, I'm also putting it as one of my yearly goals, that this is what I'm going to be doing as learning, as upskilling myself once I was back in the job. That ensured that this process is ongoing. So after reskilling in a particular technology, everybody wants some real-time experience. So the question is, what do we do for that? Yes, getting certified is, just one part of it. Now, real-time experience can be got from some of the suggestions that I gave, like becoming part of a hackathon where you're trying to solve real business problems, where you create an app just by yourself, just because you want to play around with the technology. You can become part of academic projects. You know, can one way to convince your prospective employer, if you don't have real-time experience in a particular technology, is that you're willing to learn, and you're going to be learning from day one and delivering from day one. Because somebody who comes in with that kind of high energy onto a group is definitely someone that I would like to hire. So that's one way that I have kind of got back on the question when I've been asked, you don't have real-time experience on this, even though you may have been certified on this. So there are a lot of options available out there, and I'd encourage you to look at something non-structured. A lot of companies out there do look at getting people on for internship projects. Now we think that as seasoned professionals, internship projects are not for us. It's only for freshers. But when you're coming in as somebody who's just going to join that particular project to learn, that's going to be fantastic on your resume. You've gone there, you've delivered to that company. There need not be a compensation exchange, but that's a decision that you can take. So expand, try to think bigger than the script that we've been kind of trained to think about. So do think about all that. Another question is how to overcome the perceived shortcomings of a break. So the perceived shortcomings are, let's just address what those are, the perception that's there within the professional market. One is that people who are on a break completely step away from how technology has moved ahead, how the rest of their peers have upskilled themselves while working in a real-time project, how they come back from the break, and then it takes some time for them to get back into the swing of things. So then that buffer needs to be given, and there are so many of these shortcomings that as hiring managers people do think about practically. So when we are presenting ourselves as returning to a career after a break, honestly for me, the fact that you are attending these kind of sessions, looking at how you can upskill yourself, how you have certifications on paper, how you get involved in different projects, how you become part of the community, how you have those conversations, and then use those networks to figure out what best you can do. All of those are shown as evidence of people who are really interested in their career and who are interested in really crafting their own career, not letting it go as the wind blows. So that's the first. So that's where you can show that you are completely in line with how the rest of your peers have moved ahead, etc. The second is when it comes to how you probably take a little more time to get back into the swing of things, etc. The same things that kept you going in terms of doing the projects, getting your certifications, all of those are what's going to get you back into the workforce on a run. It's not, you're not going to take some time to get back into the swing of things. And really that half an hour conversation that you have with a hiring manager, bring it into your conversation. What are the different things that you did during your break? I give this example of how, organizing a birthday party for your child, we tend to trivialize it, right? But the amount of organizational techniques that are used over there that actually managers use. So if you can portray different organizational skills that you've acquired, and put it in a beautiful story, put it in a way that people really accept as part of professional language, it's completely acceptable. When you look at the jobs for her, the profile that you fill up over there, there is a portion that you actually write your life experience. That's one way that'll help you think about what you experienced and how you grew during a career break. So, the shortcomings or the perception of a shortcoming of a break really is somebody else's. Tell yourself that your break is not a shortcoming. Tell yourself that a break is something that has propelled you into a more positive area. Yeah, the other question is, that technology is updating very fast nowadays. So which course should you upskill in so that it will have a future for the next 6 to 7 years? So since we've been speaking about AI and machine learning, this area definitely is exploding. We're still at the beginning of it. We've just moved from basic analytics into bringing in machine learning. We're still exploring what all artificial intelligence can do. So if you're looking at a broad umbrella kind of technology, definitely this is the place to be. Yeah, so there's an interesting question here saying that if you were to upskill during a break, won't it be irrelevant by the time I return? How would I know what courses to take that will bridge that gap? So this comes back to my 3C model, the 1+3C model, where one of the 3Cs was about having conversations. So speak to someone who is an old boss of yours. Speak to someone who is an old peer of yours who's probably forging ahead in a path that you would like. Speak to somebody who's already a huge influencer, a huge person of influence within the sphere that you are looking at, and figure out from them, where do you see things moving 1 year from now, 2 years from now? What do I really need to do to upskill? So that's a generic answer, because depending on which field you're in, really people who are at the forefront of that, whether it's from the business side, from the technology side, they are folks who can really give you their perspective on it. So that's something I'd encourage you to do. Someone who is on their career is on the second career break and is in HR. You went back to your career, after the break 6 years ago, but you found a job opportunity without upskilling. So you're not sure if you need to upskill this time. It's been a year now and you're looking out for roles. So what's my suggestion? So I'd like to come back to what I'd mentioned earlier. Why do employers hire you? It's for your skill, it's for your experience, or it could be for your potential. Now, sometimes there are folks who have all three of these, yeah? But if you don't have one, let's say if you don't have the skill, but you have the experience, which you're already showing that you have, and you have the potential, you're saying that, I'm willing, I'm able, I've already come back, I've shown you that, I can work well after a break. That itself is proof. So I'm sure that, you can highlight your potential over there. Yep, it looks like I've answered most of the questions here, and we're right about on time. So I'd like to thank you for your time here today, and I trust that this conversation has been beneficial for you. Do reach out to me, through JobsForHer or through my LinkedIn profile, and let's have a conversation if you think that, that might benefit you more. Thank you so much, JobsForHer, for this expert chat platform. And once again, before I leave, I'd like to, remind you about the 1+3C framework I spoke about, where, get confident. And then the 3C framework is really about having conversations, getting certified, and also about being part of the community. Thank you very much. This is Annu Kurian Alexander signing off.